So it was December 4th, and it was a day off for me, and I was at home, and my wife had called me and said that the moon's an orange color, which, being in California, you recognize that that's a lot of times because of a fire. So she asked me if there was a fire going anywhere in the area, and of course, going to fires everywhere we do, we have all the different apps and websites that we go to, and I told her I had no idea of one happening, but I'll look around. And as I looked, I found one in Santa Paula that was going, and that's probably a good 25 miles from our house. And as I looked, I could see it says it's small. You know, it got a little bigger over there by Thomas Aquinas College, and it's getting bigger. And as I was seeing the little news sites as I was scrolling through Google, it talked about it getting bigger and bigger, and it talked about getting into the Wheeler Canyon area. And in the beginning of my fire career with Orange County there was a fire in 1985 called the Wheeler Fire in Ojai. And that was a large fire that was the beginning of my career. I almost was going to be sent to that with Orange County Fire, but because I was brand new with the paid call agency, they kept me back at the department. And when the people came back from that fire, and they talked about how harrowing it was and how a lot of stories from it. So it was a fire that I remembered very well. And so reading Wheeler, and I was telling my wife, if there's wind and it's in Wheeler, this could be a really bad fire. As I read more about it, I'm trying to think here, what else did I say? I think it was okay, yeah, I kind of remember. So as I was reading more about it, it said that it was out in the Santa Paula area, and I knew that was quite a distance from my house, and my wife kept telling me she had a really bad feeling about this one. And I kept telling her that we've had many fires in Ventura in the canyons, that not to worry about it, because I've been out there for a couple days on different fires, and they've never made it out and to Ventura, at least from that far away. And she had nothing to worry about. And I eventually got called back to work because we sent engines to the Santa Paula portion of it. And so when I was at work, I was getting texts from my wife, photographs from other people that said the fire's over off of this street. And I think they mentioned like Victoria. And I'd look at the picture and I'd see a glow in the picture, and it was really hard to tell where it was. And unless you actually see the fire, it's hard to tell what drainage it actually is. So I was telling her, no, I'm sure it's a canyon or two back, we're okay. And then she sends me another text, okay, it's a telegraph in Foothill area. And I said, well, I'm not seeing fire, it's still probably a ways over there. I don't think we have anything to worry about. But at the same time, I'm like thinking, maybe it's getting close. And I told her too that if she feels unsafe about it or worried about it, just start packing up, just kind of get stuff together in case you need to evacuate. Just be ready so it's not a last minute thing. And about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, I get another text from my wife that actually was a text, or it might have been a phone call. But she said that the fire is to the west of the house. And we've had discussions on direction. Usually when I tell her I'm north, south, east, or west of something, she complains that she doesn't know what direction is, and if I would just use right or left, she'd understand it. And because she used direction, I thought, okay, this is different. And I said, so you mean the fire's to the left of the house? And she said, yes, there's a barn at the top of the hills on fire from my house. And so I'm like, oh, so the fire's actually to the west of us, which means it's in the city of Ventura area. Okay, so I had somebody here at work that had offered to come back to work. I gave him a call and said, can you come in? I need to go home. And so I drove home with all my gear, pulled into Ventura, and it was burning. We have an area called the Cross, and the Cross whole area was on fire. Every drainage was on fire. There's houses on fire in the street. It looked like the whole town was on fire. At least from the hillside and stuff. And it wasn't the whole bit, but there was sporadically it hit, and obviously in some of the brush and stuff like that, it had ignited. So they still were at home, and I had them hurry up, pack up, and hop in a van. I just told them, just go to the beach, go somewhere away from the house. And we have a church by our house that's a big parking lot that I knew that'd be safe, so it was a good safety zone, and that's kind of what I used as a safety zone for my neighborhood. So I took my line gear and my helmet, and unfortunately I didn't grab a radio from work, so I didn't have communications, which is not a good feeling when you have fire all around you, and especially thinking about what's happened earlier in the year when we had the Napa fires and up in Yosemite and some other stuff that had some pretty active burning. So I used my iPhone, and I typed in basically the communications for Ventura County and for that area, and so I was able to hear the radios, and I could hear what areas are burning and what's going on, so it gave me a little communication idea. So my neighborhood is a straight block of street of houses, and as I looked up, there was kind of a knob. We kind of live on a little bit of a hill and a rise, so I can't see behind me. So I can't see if the fire's coming down to the street, so I'd have to walk back and forth on my street, and I just charged everybody's garden hose and walked up and down the driveways, and at the corners of my neighborhood I could see up the hill, and I could see clearly and see where the fire was and where it wasn't, and so I just had to keep doing that for pretty much most of the night. I could see houses on fire to the right of me, above us, to the left of me. There was some large apartment complexes burning down the street that you could see some pretty good headers of fire, and there was one just to the left of where I was at for, it seemed like about 2 hours. It looked like a nuclear bomb went off, just a mushroom of fire. And I kept thinking that normally if you get a structure fire going, it will burn with some intensity and put up some flame, but not for the length of time of what that was showing, and I could not figure out what was burning. And so finally, I kept thinking, I kept wanting to go look, I kept wanting to watch and go see what it was, but I felt the minute I do that, I'm going to come back and somebody's house is going to be on fire. And so I kept going, no, I'll read about it or something. Finally, I just said, I got to go look. And so it's basically one street down and over a street, and I look, and there was an apartment complex called the Hawaiian Gardens, was all on fire, and it's a large complex. It's, I would venture to say, probably 100, 150 homes, apartments. And I saw the building collapsing right at the time when I walked over there, and to this day, we still look up on the hillside and wonder what's missing, and it's just a big swath that's gone. It's, as well as a lot of areas that Ventura was hit. So we ended up losing 500 homes in Ventura, and up to that point, prior to, what they used to tell us is that Ventura City had never lost a home in a vegetation fire. So when all that was going on, I tell my wife, everything's okay, it's okay. I'm like, they've never had history of a structure loss in a vegetation fire. So I'm like, I think we're okay, but obviously everything's changed this year. So.